Hello and welcome to this OnCare Office tutorial on accounting for subsidy agencies. This tutorial is designed for center directors, assistant directors, and company administrators who will be managing the accounting of agencies within the family account ledger of OnCare Office. I've logged into OnCare Office and I'm actually in the family accounting module, as you can see right here. And what I'm going to do first to show you what we've done in the release of version 1.4 is click into family accounting. And I'm going to then jump into one of our family's ledgers. And this ledger for the Benyon family here helps demonstrate what we're doing now with new ledger capability in OnCare Office. You can see right away that in this release we've actually added a couple of columns to this page. One is in the ledger view where we can actually see ledger entries as they are divided up between the sponsor and the subsidy agency associated with this family. We can also see here that the drop-down menu for adding ledger entries now shows other subsidy agencies and their names or abbreviations that are associated with this center, so that if you wanted to add a transaction in this ledger, you could add it for that specific ledger, whether it's a specific charge for a program, and click Add, and that would bring it into the ledger. Now, another important aspect of the ledger functionality, we now have it divided down between the specific entities who are actually responsible for the child's tuition amounts. There are a couple of ways that you can manage billing for agencies. Some centers will actually bill at the beginning of the tuition period. Now, it's often hard to estimate what you're going to be billing to the agency, but these types of child care providers want to get a good idea, or at least an estimate, of what their tuition take-in is going to be before they even collect it. Now, we know that many agencies only pay for the time that children are at the center, child care center. So what you have to do when you bill the agencies is you'd probably go in and set up within the child's billing box a regular recurring charge to the specific agency for what you think they're going to be responsible for during that billing period, whether that's a weekly period or a monthly period. Then at the end of the month, when you've actually submitted and you've actually received a check from the agency, you'll have to adjust that charge amount for what they've actually paid. Now, the other way to do it is that at the end of the month, instead of actually pre-billing the agency, what you might do is look at the child's timesheet record and figure out what it is that the agency is actually going to pay based on the attendance for that child. In which case, you'd probably want to enter the agency's bill one time every month by going through and adding a ledger item to the ledger for the specific child. Let's say it's for Ian in this case, and the amount might be for $800. So now I've just added a ledger entry, and we're pretending it's the end of November, and I'm basing this entry on looking at Ian's time card and realizing that the TCDP agency is going to be paying $800 for Ian based on his attendance. Now let's say it's a month later and I've actually sent my bill to the agency and they've sent me back a check. The way that we make payments within OnCare Office now for subsidy agencies is we go into the Functions menu and we select Special Batch Posting and Agency Payment Transfer Adjustment Posting. Once you go in, you select the agency you want, and from here we'll click Continue and get a listing of all the transactions that we want to make payments against. And you'll notice here that I now get a listing of all charges that have been leveled against the TOPS Child Development Program for the families in my center. And here this 1130 entry is the one that I just demonstrated a few minutes ago. So this charge for $800 Now it would be my opportunity to pay it off. Now, often subsidy agencies don't send in a specific check for each child. They actually send in a large check that might cover several children in here. So let's say it's 12/1 now, and I've got a check number 555 for the amount of $1,500 from the TCDP agency. It's now my responsibility to look at the memo and see how it's being distributed amongst the families in my center. I might notice that they're making a payment for $600 to the Bontrager family for Kelly. And they're also making a payment of $400 for Claire in the same family. Meanwhile, Ian, who I billed previously for the month of November, they're going to pay $600 in there. Sometimes the agencies don't pay the amount that they've originally been billed, and they might pay a different amount. Now, by clicking the Calculate Total button, I actually get a summary of here. Well, notice that I might have overcommitted, so I look back at the menu and get, oh yeah, that's right. It actually wasn't $600, it was $500 that was put in here. Calculate total again, and now you'll see that I have a total for what has actually been distributed amongst that check. This allows me to balance the check amount with the amount that I'm posting into the ledger. I can save this entry right now and come back to it later if I wanted. Or I could go ahead and post these transactions to the ledger. This page here gives me a summary once again of what I did and the payments that were made. And I can print this entry, or I can go ahead and post it. So now I'll go back to the family accounts, and let's look at that family that I just made a posting towards. And you'll see right here, this payment on 12/1, which I just made within the agency payment, transfer, and adjustment page, has been made to their ledger. So now I'd like to talk about how we make adjustments and transfers to charges and accounts for subsidy agencies. I've just shown you how I made the payment to a specific family account that had open charges against the TCDP agency. But now I'd like to go into the actual ledger. If you see up here, batch posting, special batch posting is a link that is available on the summary general ledger page. By clicking on that, it's a shortcut to this special batch posting page where I'll find both the quick post and the agency payment and adjusting page. I want to go back into the TCDP agency. And you'll notice that I still have some outstanding line items against the families to which I just made payments. Remember that each one of these line items was paid for previously, but I still have a due amount. So how do I deal with these outstanding charges? Since I can't adjust them down in the general family ledger page, what I have to do is use this page to either transfer that responsibility of that due amount to the family or simply adjust it down. Now, I notice in the memo here that the Bontrager family, they actually don't have any family copay and would not be responsible for any outstanding amount, so I can't adjust it down for them. So what I'm going to have to do is write this off for both of these line items. Now, the Ian Benyon family, I do notice that the family does have a copay in their certificate with this agency. So what I'm going to do is actually transfer this. The difference between a transfer and adjustment is that the adjustment simply credits the family account for that $150 or $100, whatever you put in there, but does not actually generate a debit or a charge against the family. It simply credits the agency ledger in that family account. Whereas a transfer does two things. It credits the agency ledger and then debits the sponsor ledger for that family. So when I go in and I post these amounts right here and post payments, we'll now go back into the family account ledger, and let's go look at the actual accounts for the Benyon family and the Barrett family, or actually the Bontrager family, because they're the ones that actually I just posted those special entries against. Now here, those special entries I just did, the agency adjustment credit for 150 and agency adjustment credit for 100. Notice both of those go against the ledger for TCDP. Now, if I was to go back to the Benyon family right here, I'd actually see an agency transfer credit and an agency transfer charge. These are the $300 here. So really the net result is that it doesn't change the ledger balance when you do a transfer. It just transfers responsibility for that tuition amount from the agency to the family. Meanwhile, the previous one I did for Bontrager, that simply just credited the family, and it actually did reduce the ledger balance for the family overall. And now you'll also see here that this agency has a zero balance showing. That concludes this tutorial. I hope you found it educational. If you have any additional questions, check out our other tutorials on this site, or feel free to email or phone our technical support desk. The contact information can be found at www.oncareservices.com. And thanks again for your time.